And you deserve an advocate. Because every accident has a ripple effect. It affects your time, your health, your ability to make money, everything. That's where the advocates can help. Thanks to our decades of experience, we know what your case is worth and will fight to get you every penny you deserve. Consultations are simple and always free because you're not just a client to us, you're a person, and you deserve the best help you can get. You deserve an advocate.
This is The Monty Show, the truth in sports talk streaming. When you want unbiased opinions about your favorite team without the spin, all you have to do is find The Monty Show, streaming live and available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on YouTube. And now, here's Monty.
Hey, The Monty Show. Happy Monday to you. As always, we are presented by The Advocates, theadvocates.com. A week from today, they have their blood drive at their Salt Lake City location, 1 to 7 next Monday at The Advocates. You can always go online with the redcross.org. Use the sponsor code Advocates SLC. Donate blood, you guys. It's such a critical time of year. It's always critical to donate blood. But at The Advocates, you know that they're always working with the community. So get to The Advocates. Their office is on East Winchester in Salt Lake City. Monday the 18th from 1 to 7, the blood will be flowing. It's a blood drive.
No comment.
No comment. You know.
We're 4 minutes in. No comment.
No comment. You know. Happy Monday, everybody. Update on the car saga for you is coming. So many people. I never knew how many people cared about what kind of car I drive until I said my wife was going to buy a Subaru. And then everybody said, I can't do it, Monty.
Oh, hey, Monty.
Yeah. Update on that for you. Update on the college football playoff apocalypse. This is wild. This is absolutely wild. So Thursday and Friday, everything changed. Thursday, we felt like we were headed in the right direction. Midday Friday, and it's unclear what that change was or how that happened. There just seemed to be a change in tenor. And Ross Dellinger, I think, had it first, but I mean, pretty much every college football insider jumped on it. That changes had happened, that the Big Ten and the SEC had really been playing nice in the sandbox, and then all of a sudden they decided that they continued to demand more. And we spent Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday last week talking to sources telling us about an NFL playoff model coming to the P4 and that all of this stuff. And we were telling you, hey, the conferences aren't going away. This is a football-only move. Like, it seemed like we were really moving in the right direction. And then midday Friday, everything changed. And nobody's really sure why the Big Ten and the SEC decided to flex their muscles and essentially say, yeah, we haven't changed our stance, by the way. All this other structure talk is great. We want more money and we want more access to the championship game. And it really took the air out of a process that most people felt was moving in the right direction, where you were going to have the P4 agreeing to a structure and a financial structure, a playoff structure. The TV deal was finally going to get done. And then the SEC and the Big Ten hit the brakes. And I guess the question, Jake, is it time for the Big 12 and the ACC to call their bluff?
I mean, I think at some point you have to kind of say, like, hey, like, you're just, yeah, I think you got to call their bluff on some level. I think the hard part is that those two conferences don't have the might of the Big Ten and the SEC. And I don't know, what your leverage would be or your upper hand would be. I mean, obviously, folks like ESPN and the rest of the TV partners, need the Big Ten and the SEC, of course. But at the same time, I don't know. I don't know how, whether it's the Big 12 and the ACC calling their bluff, or whether it's a TV situation, either way on either side of that. I don't know how this ends well for anybody, because again, like I still maintain, like, I'm not quite sure why you continue to ask for more access and more money when you're getting that very clearly in this setup that we discussed. I mean, it's very clear that you're going to get more AQs in each individual conference. It's very clear that you're probably going to get bye weeks. It's very clear that because of that, you're going to make more money. So what I'm trying to understand is if you're Greg Sankey and Tony Petitti, what do you need to see? What needs to be presented to you for you to feel happy, or I guess content with the situation? Because I like what you said. Like, I agree. Like, that NFL model in college football, I think, works great. And then if you just simply roll in more AQs for the SEC and the Big Ten, that's going to make them more money. So I don't know. I don't know if you're the Big 12 and the ACC. Do you call their bluff? Okay, if you want to, how do you call their bluff? Because to call someone's bluff, you got to have something. You got to have some type of leverage on your side. And frankly, I don't know that the Big 12 and the ACC have a ton of leverage to work with here.
I don't know that they have any leverage. And I think there's been a lot of debate happening, and people I've spoken to don't seem to debate anything, that the ACC is in a very vulnerable position here because they have universities in Duke, Carolina, Florida State, Virginia. I think there is a real question about what Clemson's demand for Clemson is. I think there's significant demand. I think after that, I don't think there's much demand for anybody in that conference. And I look at the Big 12, and I think that you have probably 4 or 5 teams that most people find attractive. After that, I don't know that there's a whole lot of demand at the bottom of this football conference. I truly do not. And again, I want to make that very clear. People, I think the number one question that I've been asked is, why do you keep saying conferences are going away? We've never once told you conferences are going away. This is a football problem. This is a unique football problem. And I think it is very clear that the powers that be in college football thought they were all moving in the same direction. And the Big Ten and the SEC on Friday at some point changed their mind on that. And I do think at some point you either need to acquiesce and bow down, or you need to stand and fight. And if you're the Big 12, I think you have a lot more to lose here. I truly do. I think the ACC has been dealing with instability for so long. I think the Big 12 has not had that same set of circumstances. They were able to expand not once but twice. They were able to secure their flanks. They brought new revenue in. They brought much larger TV audiences in. And you feel like the Big 12 is in a better spot. But is anybody in a better spot? Is the ACC in a better spot than the Big 12 or vice versa? I really don't think so.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting about the Big 12's path is that, when Texas and Oklahoma were leaving the conference early to go to the SEC, everyone said the Big 12 was burning down, and this conference is dead and it's over. And I feel like they handled the Texas and Oklahoma departure really well. It didn't feel like there was a lot of drama behind it. It felt like it was much more of just a business transaction, and everyone was kind of on the same page, and it just kind of got done. Whereas in the ACC, I feel like it's been very heated. It's been very emotional. It's been,
you're in court.
Yeah, like I think that it's just been a totally different thing, to which I say, okay, that tells me that the Big 12, again, I'm going to keep saying it. I do think the Big 12 plays better in the sandbox with the big boys than the ACC does. But to what end? That's the question. Because if you have a situation where the Big Ten and the SEC are going to go and do their own thing, or whatever that looks like, if that were to play out, they're going to need the Big 12 because they need teams. You can't just take 2 conferences and think that you're just going to go out and run the world. There's not enough teams there. There's not enough money in those 2 conferences on their own to go ahead and survive long term. So I think at a minimum, you would need the Big 12, and that would be, if I'm Brett Yormark, that would be the leverage point that I'd be trying to hammer home. Like, hey, I get it. You guys have control. You guys are the big dogs. You make the most money. You're in the college football playoff the most. Totally get it. Totally respect that. Nothing against that. But at the same time, to move forward in a healthy direction on the football field in collegiate athletics, like, we got to have a system that actually works. So again, we come back to this question of, why is it that Greg Sankey and Tony Petitti decided it would be a good idea to kill the momentum in this conversation?
It's a very interesting conversation.
Like
very interesting
like
question.
These guys are not stupid. And I only say that because you don't go out and do this and slow things down unless something was said or a certain kind of conversation was had that you didn't like that forced you to play your hand.
And I'll just continue to go back and say what I've said. You cannot simply, if you are the Big Ten and the SEC, and the implication here, and I'm told pretty point blank that the Big Ten and the SEC have not said, we're out, we're walking away. That's never been the conversation. What the Big Ten and the SEC are saying is, we will take your brightest and your best, and we will walk away with them, and we will leave you stranded. They're talking to the Virginia Techs of the world. They're talking to the smaller bottom of the conference universities that, as we always talk about on this show, have not had success on the field, do not drive viewership, and do not drive revenue. That's the biggest fear. If you're the Big 12 and the ACC, it's not that all of your universities are going to get left out. No, friends. It's that you are going to lose the top 25% of your conference, and they're going to go play ball with the SEC and the Big Ten. That is your biggest fear. It's not that somehow the Big Ten and the ACC are going to walk away and do their own thing, because that's not possible. Nobody is going to ignore the entirety of the Big 12 and the ACC. That's not going to happen. The thing, if you're the Big 12 and the ACC, you worry about is you're going to lose your brands and you're going to become a G5. That's your biggest insecurity and your biggest fear. How do you stop that? That's what the powers that be in the Big 12 and the ACC are talking about in football. We're talking about football. This isn't every other sport. This is a football conversation. And the other thing that you better remember is there's one group that are going to make this decision, and it's the TV powers that be. Because without the TV powers, you're not getting on a grant of rights, and that includes the SEC, who I would remind you just signed a lucrative extension with ESPN. And I'd also remind you that NBC, Fox, and CBS all have a piece of the Big Ten in a brand new deal. So the TV folks are the ones that are going to make this decision. And what's best for TV is that all of their partners coexist and get along. What's best for TV is that NFL motto. We have routinely and repeatedly spoken to sources at the top of the TV industry and sports, and they have all said that they are in favor, and unanimously, which never happens, ever, do all of the people we talk to say the same thing and are in favor of the same thing. There is no question that our sources in the TV industry want the NFL model for the college football playoff system. That's what they all want. So my feeling is eventually that's what we're all going to get. The biggest question is, who is going to get the Big Ten and the SEC to back down? Because they want an inordinate, a disproportionate amount of the revenue that comes from the college football playoff structure, whatever it might be, on television. They want a disproportionate amount of that money, to a crippling effect if you are the ACC and the Big 12. And I just think, is untenable a big word? Yeah, it is. I don't know. Is it too big of a word? Yeah, probably. But it is, if it's not untenable, it is as close to a miserable existence that as you can get if you're the Big 12 and the ACC.
And I think that, the Big Ten and the SEC probably took some notes out of the Pac-12 situation. I mean, what better lesson to learn out of that situation than, hey, you got to be as financially secure as possible. So if you have a leverage play that you can execute on, like, why wouldn't you? And that's the hard part with college football right now, is that it is volatile. It is, you either win or you don't, and if you don't, you're out. That's what we're talking about here. And I think that's the difficult part. I feel like everyone romanticizes like the small town school in college football that plays on Friday nights, and I feel like we romanticize that. And while I'm sure that still takes place, the Big Ten and the SEC are no longer concerned with that. They are concerned with making sure that they continue to grow their margin over the other two. And I understand that. I'm not criticizing them for it, but I think at some point someone's got to step in on some level and say, hey, yeah, we understand you guys have had the success, but it's not just about you guys. I mean, you if you're going to do this, you have a responsibility to ensure that college football is healthy. I believe that if you're going to go out and you're going to flex your muscle and you're going to say you're the biggest and baddest and deserve the most money and, you should get all this stuff, then that inherently means you're responsible if college football goes sideways.
And I truly believe this is bad for the fans. And what's the worst case scenario here? What would be the worst that the Big Ten and the SEC take the top 5 teams in each conference?
Yeah, probably. And then they form their own structure. Yeah.
And you're left with twig and berries in the ACC and the Big 12.
Yeah.
I mean, that feels like that's the worst case scenario here. But again, I don't see ESPN letting that happen. I think ESPN has a massive investment in the success of the Big 12.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you do not have your brands with access to the championship of college football, that you're not going to thrive in any way, shape, or form. And I think you are killing a generation of football fans. I truly think if you're a 16-year-old kid right now, I don't know what you're hanging on to. I truly do not. I am somebody that, as far as I can remember, I've always been a college football fan.
Mm-hmm.
And I have cried over Notre The Rocket Ishmael holding on the kick return. I cried about that. Right? Like, I mean, those are the emotions that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Truly they are, right? But is a 16-year-old kid crying about BYU football? Is a 16-year-old kid crying about Utah football? Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
I think we are absolutely crippling the next generation of college football fan. And I don't know how you fix that. You fix that by giving everybody a shot at the championship, but that's not realistic.
But that's when I say, like, I think that if the Big Ten and the SEC were to do this and take the top half of the Big 12 and the ACC, let's say, and go off and form their own structure, whatever it might look like, right? There's a million ways you could do it, but whatever it might look like, I still maintain for college football in the big picture, there has to be a secondary setup. There has to be.
There certainly does.
You can't have, all these other schools just hung out to dry. And I understand they're in that position because they have not won and they have not prioritized athletics to a high enough level, or maybe they're just simply not good enough at raising capital to make sure their facilities are top notch, which, then prevents them from recruiting. And we all know the vicious cycle. Whatever the case may be as to why you're a secondary team, I just think that whether it's because of ESPN and the TV partners or not, you have to have a secondary, college football playoff-esque thing. Like there has to be, the NIT of college football, if you will. There's got to be some type of something that the second tier can compete for, because without that, you're basically incentivizing these schools to put their money elsewhere. I mean, what is the point at that stage of
everybody
playing
can't get in?
Yeah,
everybody can't get in.
Yeah,
and I think it's something that a lot of people don't understand. It is not a participation sport. It is a dominate and conquer sport.
Yeah.
That's what football is, and it's why in basketball so many people are against expanding the NCAA tournament, which I think is going to happen, because not everybody should get in. You have to earn it on the field with your performance. And I think we are, if we're going to play this game where we're moving towards a system where everybody gets in, I think it dilutes the product. It takes the uniqueness of getting to the 4-team college football playoff away.
Well, I think, in my mind, at least, I don't see it as everybody getting in. I see it as everybody needs to have the opportunity to earn their way in.
That's a very different thing.
Right. So it's not saying, hey, for the Big Ten and the SEC, it's not saying that if they were to take the top half of the Big 12 and the ACC, it's not saying that all those teams are in, but they need those teams to form a competitive setup to allow people to earn their way into whatever that, whether it's a 12 team or whatever the hell it is. And that's why I say, like, on the secondary level, you got to have that same thing. And the same structure works, the same thought process works. And
But does it make
me,
money for TV?
Well, I was going to say, don't tell me people aren't going to watch. You can't tell me that you're not going to get the same viewership. Obviously, you're not going to be getting 30 million people, but I do think you can get, like 5-7 million people. Yeah, sure.
And I think that's a CBS Sports Network. That's right, because now that you have, I just think the TV game has changed. I think ESPN, CBS, Fox, NBC to a lesser extent, I think they're going to make the decision. And I think they know that they're in that position, because if your TV partners who, again, they talk on a regular basis, I don't know, this might have been one of the things that inflamed people the most on Friday when I said that Fox and ESPN have had long-standing conversations about this.
Oh,
they have.
That's BS. You don't know what you're talking about. Come on.
And I think there's this belief that they're warring factions. They're not. What's good for ESPN and college football is very good for Fox, CBS, and NBC.
Well, and I think there was a lot of talk about CBS at some point getting back into college football. You can't tell me that CBS is like, hey, like we lost the SEC to ESPN and we're not.
And they only have a very small piece of the pie. Don't forget that.
Yeah.
I mean, I would agree with you. I think there is this opens a window for CBS to be a much larger player.
Yeah.
It's a money position. You're going to have to want to pay for it. But I don't know. The only way this gets better is with more money. But every time you go back to the well and ask for more money, all you're doing is giving the Big Ten and the SEC an opportunity to take more money. It's not when does it become equitable? Because, again, I just point out the Big Ten is not a great league in any sport. It's not a great league. It got better with the meltdown of the Pac-12. There's no question about that. But it's not a great league. You're not a deep league. The SEC is a very deep and very good product.
Yeah.
And with their rise in basketball in the last several years, that certainly has helped them. But when is the last time the Big Ten was the best football league in the country? I don't know either, because it's been too long.
Well, Monty, Michigan won the national championship. Yeah, that might be true, but that doesn't make you the best league, top to bottom.
They have very good TV audiences.
Yeah.
And that's got real value in it. There's no question about it. But at some point, you have to find the equity play in all of this.
Yeah, and I do agree with what you were saying earlier. Like, if you're the Big 12 and the ACC, you have to go, and find what your leverage is going to be. I mean, you have to create it.
That leverage is the NCAA tournament. That leverage is basketball. And at some point, we can keep having a football discussion, but at some point, that's going to come into it.
But
because
that's why I say, like, the SEC and the Big Ten are. I mean, I'm just envisioning these folks sitting at a table, right, and having this conversation.
Yeah.
And you're Brett Yormark, and you're talking to Greg Sankey and Tony Petitti, and you're like, hey man, like, we're the best basketball conference in this country, man. Like, and it really is not all that close. I mean, the SEC, as you said, got better, has been getting better, but we are the best basketball conference in the country, and that definitely counts for something. And by the way, I do think that they are going to be better on the football field than people are giving them credit for in the preseason. So if you're Brett Yormark, you have to find a way from a money business standpoint to leverage these two and force them to go the way you want them to go. Because that's the thing. They're going to go either way. They're moving forward on something. We're not just going to sit here and do nothing. So the conversation isn't, hey, are they going to move or not move? No, they're moving. It's just, hey, which direction do you want them to go, and how can you get them to go that direction?
Yeah, and I don't think everybody belongs in. I just don't. But that's just me. I look at the year that these leagues are having. I mean, I don't know. Houston, I'm not even sure it's arguable as the best team in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm not sure that's arguable. But Purdue's having a great year, which is a big win. But where do we go next in the Big Ten? Right? You know where we go next? We go to North Carolina, which is why I think North Carolina is such a big deal. But if you look at Illinois down at 12, You got to go all the way down to 12. Yet you have Baylor. Yet you have Iowa State. Yet you have Arizona. I mean, you have the Big 12's the best league in the country.
Yeah.
The best league in the
teams.
country.
I mean, look at how many Big 12 teams are in the 10 to 20 range. I mean, that's
look at
loaded,
BYU at
bro.
21-8.
Yeah, I mean, that's loaded.
Yeah, I think you look at BYU. Certainly it's a big one there. I obviously Kansas is not having the year that Kansas thought they would have, but the Big 12 is well represented in the AP top 25.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. All right, less of us, more of you here on the Monty Show. Make sure you hit the like button. Who's the first one in? Wow, look at that. Mountain Mama, first one in. Hit the like button. Yes, sir. Mike, always good to see you. Maury, our favorite Floridian. Good to see you. Pete Forte, Dakota Tubbs says happy daylight savings time to all the Monty Show Jagoffs.
We got to talk about that later, bro. Time
Struggling a little bit?
blows, dude. Absolutely. Dude, I go to bed last night. I usually go to bed I try to start laying down around 8:30, 8:45. And then hopefully I'm asleep by like 9:15, 9:20. Dude, I lay down last night just wide awake, bro. Like not even close to being ready to go to sleep. Don't fall asleep till like midnight at least. And choppy night of sleep, to say the least.
I was out until 3 o'clock and I had that little bit of a cough thing that you just here in the desert, you wind up with a little dry cough thing, Conundrum, good morning to you. 70. Oh, are we over 75,000?
Oh, are we?
I did not notice that.
Okay.
Yes. Wow. Almost 76,000. 75,682. We like it. We like it a lot. Appreciate all of you. Thank you. Maury says only Jagoffs and casuals don't hit the like button and subscribe. Thank you,
dude. Come on.
Dude. What's up, Gary? RJC man, Calford to the ACC was such a brilliant monkey wrench into the Big Ten SEC plan. That now they're acting like FSU is not going to end well. Power is money, and conversely, money is power. Yeah, I don't think Calford helped the ACC at all, other than the number of teams in your league, which is substantial. I don't think I think SMU was an embarrassment.
Yeah, I mean, what do those three teams have in common? Oh, that's right. They never win anything.
Well, not
honestly.
Recently. Again, you keep writing off what Cal and Stanford have done in football. I don't think you can do that.
Okay, but hear me out. Why does it matter what they did 20 years ago?
Because it wasn't 20 years ago.
It was, though.
No, it wasn't.
It was.
Okay.
When's the last time Stanford was in the conversation in football? Seriously.
Mark Hales.
13?
I'm not doing the Stanford thing again.
Okay.
I'm not doing the Stanford thing again. But you look at what Harbaugh and Shaw accomplished at Stanford. They did very good things at Stanford. It's not like Stanford is sucked for 20 years. I think there needs to be some perspective. Has Cal been relevant? They have not. I 100% agree. Cal has not been relevant. Stanford has been relevant. I think you look no further than Christian McCaffrey and Andrew Luck. They have been relevant. Mark Hale, so they want to take their ball and leave if they don't get their way. Yep. I don't think they want to do that. I think they want their way. I think they want more money and more access. And I think the G5, the Big 12, and the ACC are not so willing to do that. Nor would I be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm looking. Yeah.
It's not. Anyway, RJC man. Notre Dame and NBC prevented ESPN. No, they did not. Conundrum. Somebody wake up Jake. What do you mean, somebody wake up Jake? Chad Carter. Good morning, good people. Hello. Sankey does not like being told no ever about anything. Ever about anything. What I'm saying.
Nobody's going to say no to him. It's just a matter of how you want to take your medicine.
What are you going to say yes to?
Yeah.
You're not going to say no.
Yeah.
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
Morning, Monty. Get surgery left legs to. Morning, Monty. Get surgery left legs today. What you're getting surgery today,
yeah,
Matt Ritson.
Can you explain?
I don't. What are we talking about? RJC man, Stanley overplaying his hand, alligator mouths humming. What are we doing already?
What
are we doing? Chrissy, when do the discoveries start both cases? Let's see who will withdraw their case first and settle out of court. Well, I think we've seen with Florida State and the ACC, there is a willingness to settle. And I think there is a willingness to allow Florida State to walk away. for the right price. For the right price.
Mm-hmm.
And that is one of the things that this whole, if you make an agreement where you have, and again, we had been hearing passionately for several days last week, hey, this NFL model's got real legs. People are excited about it. Okay, great. And then all the conversation about structure stopped until an equitable revenue agreement came to pass. So I think the ACC Florida State situation is very much in flux based on what's going to happen with these conversations. Good morning, Lopes fan Gabe. Everybody hit the like button. Where are we at? 500 views, only 35 likes. Hit the like button. That helps the channel grow. Let's see. Edward Wayner, like number 14. Hit the like button, y'all. See, it's a common theme here. It's a common theme. Jay McClenahan. The TV networks could step in and get it resolved. They control the coin. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Chris E., leverage would be that all in the conference allow the Big Ten and the SEC to have their own playoff and break off. There's just no way that's going to happen. And you can threaten that, but what does that in practical application look like? Are you telling me that you're leaving Florida State, Clemson, North Carolina, Miami? They're just out of that. You're telling me that you're leaving K-State, Utah, BYU. They're just out of that. That makes no sense.
No way for that to work.
No way. You're not going to, and I think Greg Sankey knows this, and it's why he keeps talking about this publicly. Nobody like Greg Sankey or at Greg Sankey's level talks publicly without a reason. Greg Sankey only goes on Feinbaum when he needs something said, when he needs to get something out. And what has he always said? This is a national sport. We need representation and regulation on a national level, which is why the NCAA is not going anywhere. And the other thing that I think is so important is you're not going to have the Big Ten and the SEC just walk away from everybody else. How much money are you leaving on the table at that point?
A lot.
A significant amount. And again, I would ask you, how much money are you not making from the college football playoff at that point?
A lot.
Because what have you left ESPN with at that point? You've left them with diminished assets. And the SEC and the ESPN ABC are partners. And does it make a lot of sense for Greg Sankey to go to Jimmy Pitaro to ESPN and say, yeah, we're out? I don't think it does.
No.
I don't think it does.
Well, and I think that's what you have to be careful with if you're the SEC specifically, is ruining a good thing. You know, I mean, you clearly have control. You're clearly represented very well every year. You're represented more than pretty much any other conference.
An incredible TV package.
Yeah.
You have one of the few successful SEC network type setups, because I think we all know that those conference and university level networks, there are very few that were successful. The Longhorn Network never got off the ground.
Yeah.
You look at like BYU TV is probably the only, call it what you want, tier 3 provider that really, really worked. And now tier 3 rights are gone. They don't exist anymore. And you look at ESPN and what ESPN provides to the SEC. The SEC is not going to do anything that diminishes ESPN. They won't. They need them. It's too good of a partnership. And now let's not forget ESPN going direct to consumer next year, because that streaming component, whether you want it to be or not, you can get on board with streaming, or you can go hang out with George Kliavkoff and the folks at the Pac. Oh, wait, they don't exist anymore.
Right.
Because they never got on board with streaming. They never got their network off the ground. They never did a distribution deal. You're not going to walk away from ESPN or damage them. And I would remind you, you don't have any way to walk away from ESPN and ABC if you're the SEC. You're going to have to find a solution. Why do you think the Big Ten and the SEC are strong-arming the Big 12 and the ACC? Wouldn't they just walk away? But they can't. And they're not going to. It would be The revolution would be.
That's why I don't think that using words like apocalypse is too much. I mean, you're talking about college football being at a point where there's real danger. I mean, if you mishandle this situation, and again, it's going to be hard to do that because there's so many people involved.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that, you know, obviously a logical setup will come out of this thing, but if there was to be again, think look at NIL, right? If we to me, NIL has been kind of a mess. I think we all agree on that. You know, if you were to get some type of setup that goes up the alley of NIL in terms of how messy it is, that's going to be really bad for college football.
Totally
you can't have that.
Yeah. What is the best outcome here? The answer is I don't know. I think the best outcome is you have, I still maintain the NFL model is the best outcome.
Mm-hmm.
It makes the most sense. 64 teams.
You can roll in the extra money in the auto qualifiers for these two.
It keeps the bowls intact. It keeps everybody's making money.
I mean, it accomplishes everything you want it to accomplish.
Unless you're the SEC and the Big Ten who want a guaranteed access to make sure that they play for a national championship every, because that's what they're asking for. Let's stop calling it revenue. And the SEC and the Big Ten want to make sure that Alabama, Georgia, Michigan, and Ohio State play for a national championship every year.
Yeah.
And unless they are just absolutely putrid, which it's cyclical, I totally get it. But unless they're absolutely terrible, that those 4 teams are going to play for a national championship every year. That's what those conferences want.
Mm-hmm.
Is that realistic? I don't think it probably is. I don't think it probably is. Georgia wasn't even involved this year. I think that's why we are where we are. Ohio State, I think that's why we are where we are.
Well, I mean, I understand why Greg Sankey would be upset about that. I mean, you know, I think we can all agree that Georgia was one of the 4 best teams in the country. But again, in the current format that everybody approved, you know, your conference is going to eat itself. And that's what happened.
Yo, Boyd Lake, good to see you. Dakota Tubbs. I think we need James and Monty Copter 69 to go review some of these stadiums. you know. Jet Copter 69. James is on a mission from God. He's one of the Blues, but don't ever say that. Don't. How about USC won women's basketball SEC in the Pac-12 tournament yesterday? Hey, cool. The last ride of the Pac-12.
Yes.
That's still so odd for me to say that the Pac-12's dead.
Yeah, a couple more months here.
The Pac-12's going away.
Athletics, and that's it.
It's wild. RJC, man, Big 12 basketball, stop it. So tired of that talking point. The Big 12's afar. Okay, cool. Yeah, the Big 12 sucks in basketball.
Yeah, they're terrible, dude. Awful.
West Virginia is carrying Big 12 basketball this year. I mean, I Neil Brown, just he's doing everything that he can do.
Man, that 1-3-1 zone on defense is wild, bro.
Who's going to win more games in the next calendar year? West Virginia basketball. Have they won 10 games yet? Where are we at here? Have they won? I passed already. No, they haven't. 9-22.
Damn.
Because it's garbage.
But I would point out, look how many 20-win teams you have. I mean, that's wild to me. That the Big 12 has that many. What's that? 3, 6,
don't worry
9.
about it, RJC, man. They're a farce. It's fine. They're
9
terrible.
20-win teams, and K-State and Cincinnati have both won 18. 9 20-win teams.
Yeah, they're terrible, dude.
They suck.
Yeah, brutal.
I don't even know why.
Why do we even watch
college basketball?
Yeah.
What
are we doing?
OG Gary Monty, from what you're hearing, assuming things go sideways, who are the top brands in the Big? Who are the top brands that the Big and the SEC could? I assume you mean poach. Is that what we're talking about? I think in the Big 12. And I don't know when Utah became such a lightning rod. Utah's going to any top tier. It doesn't matter. Stop with that nonsense. I think the real question are the leagues in the Big 12 league specifically. What about an Iowa State?
It's close. Probably.
I know.
Probably in, but it's close.
It's really close.
Yeah, probably in.
If you're only poaching, right? If you look at Oklahoma State, they're in. There's no question
Well, what
about
if you
it.
set the bar at 6 wins, right? Bowl eligible.
If you set the bar at 6 wins, TCU, Houston, BYU, Baylor, and Cincinnati, how many of those are in? All of them missed the cut line last year. Is TCU in a God tier?
They should be.
How do you have a God tier without TCU?
Yeah, they should be.
BYU, you're not having a God tier without BYU.
Yeah.
On TV money alone, what is there to even talk about?
Yeah.
What about Baylor? What about like Cincinnati? Cincinnati's another one. I don't know, man.
I
look at the small markets in the Big 12, and I say you're not going to have a God tier without Fort Worth, without the Metroplex. Why? Texas Tech is in. TCU is in. Houston is in. There's no question. Just from a TV, look how big the TV market in Houston is.
Yeah.
What are you going to go get Rice? Stop. They're in, right? I look at Cincinnati. That's a real question. I look at Baylor. Baylor's in. Right? Baylor's in.
I mean, see, and this has always been my conundrum with this part of the conversation. How the only question that really matters is not who gets in. It's how do you define who gets in? Because if it's bowl eligibility, that's very different than, a formula that takes into account brand power and, heritage and, what you did, before the college football playoff existed. Because that's a real question for me. And maybe I just, maybe I'm stubborn. But are we really making decisions on the future of college football and considering things that happened before the college football playoffs started?
Yes. Yes. You are. What are we really talking about here? We're talking about the Big Ten and the SEC getting disproportionately more money, hundreds of millions of dollars more than everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're talking about. And then they'll talk about a structure. Because the Big Ten and the SEC, I don't even think they care about structure. They want to make sure that their revenue is larger than yours.
Yeah.
That's what this comes down to. We're not sitting here having a conversation about, 14 or 16 teams, Monty. Nobody cares. What the Big Ten and the SEC want is more money. And then they'll tell you, hey, by the way, thanks for the more money. Now we're going to take more qualifiers too.
Right.
And what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Because right now, today, in this country, as we speak, at, 8:45 Eastern, I guarantee you there are conference calls today. I guarantee you there are presidents and chancellors asking how much money are we willing to give away to do business with the Big Ten and the SEC in football. Like, to me, the biggest question is, what's the apocalyptic scenario? What is even possible? My guess is what's possible is the Big 12 and the ACC agree to give away a ton of money. What is not possible is the SEC and the Big 10 walking away and doing their own thing.
Right.
I think we are and call it what you want, revenue, however you want to phrase it, that you are getting a disproportionate share of the revenue, more than you deserve.
Right.
That's what's going to happen. And we can sit here and we can talk about how great Brett Yormark's been. You want to know how great Brett Yormark is? Ask me a week from now when we probably have a revenue sharing agreement where the Big Ten and the SEC are going to walk away with a lot more money than Brett Yormark in the Big 12.
That's rough. There's no way around it. That's rough.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
And my guess is, and I don't know that he'll ever admit this, my guess is this is why we're in Mexico, Monterrey and Mexico City. This is why we're in Rucker Park in the Big 12. Why else? This is why the first thing he did, what did he do? One of the first moves he made, split basketball and football.
Yeah.
Basketball division, football division, commercial director in basketball, commercial director in football.
Really smart.
You had no choice because he's got the 10,000-pound gorilla in the room for basketball, right? You can sit here and I can't remember who said it now. You can sit here and fantasize that your conference is on par with the Big 12 in basketball. It's not. It's not.
Yeah.
The SEC is not. The Big 10 is certainly not. Fire Juwan Howard, then we can start talking about whether or not the Big 10 is serious about basketball.
Seriously.
Right? Because again, and I know that you guys mock me every time I say this. Basketball is going to be a significant part of the pie in the revenue and what's the right way? The financial viability of athletic departments in this country.
Well, it's so much easier to schedule in basketball. That's the thing. You're not playing once a week. You're able to play a couple times a weekend. Like, obviously that frees things up. And so when you think about, again, expanding the tournament, let's say, hey, the more games we can put on TV over a prolonged period of time, the more money that we're going to make. And if you win, you're going to make more money. And that's just as simple as it's been.
Do you think anybody cares about Arizona football?
No.
No, I want 24 wins out of the basketball team. Right? You want to talk about a team that you look at Washington State basketball this year. They've had a tremendous season this year. But
why do you think the Big 12 wanted Gonzaga?
I think that's a great question. And why I think that still happens. I don't know, man. Here's what I think is likely. I think the Big 12 and the SEC, I watched Dune over the weekend. I saw a man bend the knee and kiss the ring. That's exactly what Brett Yormark is going to do.
I'm for real.
They're going to take less money, and they're going to happily do it. That's what I think happens. And I think it just is. What other choice do you have?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you have another choice. I think the commitment from Brett Yormark has to be that they remain on TV in big games. That's what you have to have. Like, okay, cool. These two conferences are getting a higher split, but as long as we can remain on TV on the field in that game, we can sell that in our local markets, and the schools can continue to make revenue. And I think that one side of college athletics, obviously football leads the way in money, but like in college athletics in totality, like having a sales team that helps you bring in sponsorship dollars, I feel like now more than ever is necessary. You have to have
really having a conversation about why basketball is critically important to athletics.
Well, I just don't think people respect basketball enough from a revenue standpoint. Like, I think people think it's like, oh, well, yeah, you're going to make $5 in basketball and you're going to make $100 in football. And it's like, no, actually,
I agree that your dollar is much larger, and the total value of football, it's not even a conversation. The monetary value of football is significantly higher. So we're just going to throw basketball away, the second largest revenue generator in your athletic department?
Well, not all of us are Georgia football, so
Are we? And that's the thing that I'm trying to get people to understand, like this NIL tournament that we talked about.
Yeah.
Do you think that? I mean, they're talking about millions of dollars going to winners.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, basketball doesn't matter. It's not relevant. What somebody forgot to tell ESPN, ABC, Fox, CBS that basketball's not relevant. Somebody forgot to tell them because they're making huge investments in college basketball.
And as you should. I think that you should not be naive to the fact that to me, it's easier to manipulate the tournament than it is to manipulate the college football playoff.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, there's so many other ways you could go about it. Like, and I'm not sitting here suggesting we're going to start rolling out 7-game series like they do in the NBA because there's just too many schools playing. But there are many different ways to do this thing. And I think that if you're going to have, football go the way we think football is going to go, then basketball becomes the saving grace that covers the gap that's about to be created. And if you're a lower end school, second tier school, you damn well better be good enough in basketball to make money.
Because I also look at the Big Ten, specifically the Big Ten, because the SEC actually is solid. I look at the Big Ten, And I don't know. And if somebody wants to fight me over it, okay, great, let's do it. Outside of Purdue, who in that league has a chance to win a national championship this year? Because listen, Kenny Battle be damned. Kendall Gill be damned. Illinois, you're good. You're not that good.
But look at how few 20-win teams are here.
Yeah, you have 4 20-win teams in the Big Ten. Now you've got Wisco at 19, Ohio State at 19. You've got a bunch at 18.
Bro,
but
the Big 12 has 9 20-win teams already.
Juwan Howard is 3-17 in conference
You're
play.
garbage.
Because it's garbage.
Dude.
It's remarkable to me. But you go to the SEC and I say, hey, I look at the dearth of quality basketball from Florida up. They can compete. The Big Ten doesn't want to have a basketball revenue conversation.
No, they don't.
I just don't.
But that's why I say this is why football is so important to the Big Ten, because they know, okay, if we can secure our financial picture every single fiscal year through football, then the nonsense on the hardwood doesn't matter as much.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're going to pop off once every 5 years. And when we decide to can Juwan Howard for the nonsense in the basketball program that's allegedly taking place.
It's the handshake line.
Yeah, the handshake line, excuse me. When we decide to can Juwan for his, indiscretions, then Michigan basketball will be forever better for that.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Mike Smith, Brett Yormark in the Big 12 might be John Wick, but the Big 10 in the SEC is those above the table. Okay. I like the movie reference. I like the movie reference.
Yeah.
Scale of 1 to 10, what would you rank Dune?
The movie itself was, like 9.5, 10. Great movie.
The chairs in the theater.
The chairs were just
like a 2.
Terrible.
We'll talk about that coming up as well. Ferris Khan, basketball is pennies on the dollar versus football.
Here we go.
College sports, except for 3 weeks in March and April.
It doesn't matter how long it takes to make the money, brother. You're still making the money. Do you not understand that?
Why is the Big 12 playing in Mexico City? Why are you going to Rucker Park? You're growing the brand. This is what's wrong with football. You think that football is the only thing that matters. You're saying that, Ferris, because Michigan is horrendous in basketball and about to be scandal-ridden.
Do you understand? We're not saying basketball makes more money than football. That's not what we're saying. We're saying that, hey, cool, you want to go and make a god tier. You want to go and separate off on your own thing and poach teams and do all this stuff on the football field. Cool, man. That's great. But for all the regular folks in collegiate athletics who maybe aren't winning the college football playoff every single year, we need to be good in basketball because, the badminton team isn't going to cover the bills in the athletic department, dude.
Yeah.
So, dude, that's the type of comment where I'm like, you are choosing to be difficult about how money works in college athletics.
Well, and I think, Joshua, this is a really good question. I want to know what the counteroffer is. Negotiations work 2 ways, and we've seen the big in the SEC ask. For me, I'd say no AQs and pay on performance like the basketball tournament. I think I would love to be a fly on the wall.
You can't give them bye weeks, dude. You cannot give them additional bye weeks.
You cannot give them 4 automatic qualifiers and 2 bye weeks.
That's just not going to work.
You cannot do that. There's just no way to do that. You're handing them the championship. That's the beauty of the college basketball tournament. You got to go play. You got to go play. You don't get to just,
Yeah.
Well, we'll take automatic qualifiers and we'll chill for a month. You got to go play basketball games. That's why San Diego State and FAU last year was such a great story. Because that's what college basketball is. That's what it will always be. The ball, you got to make shots, right? In college football, if you're off a 2 weeks, let's say, or a month, you're just physically more able. Now, are you rusty and are you going to have some issues? Yeah, you will. But you're physically more able to play the game at a higher level because you didn't get in 40, 50, 60 car crashes the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's a different thing. I don't know. For my money, there are so many wild scenarios and everybody's an expert. I can only tell you that ESPN, and I think to a lesser extent Fox, because Fox, I think, is so dependent on the Big Ten. I think ESPN and Fox have no desire to see the SEC and the Big Ten walk away from anything. There's just no reason that nobody prospers in that. You understand that. Nobody prospers in that scenario. Nobody. Chad Carter, I'm a Big Ten apologist, and there's no excuse for why basketball is bad right now. The tolerance for bad coaching at programs that normally are high performers is baffling.
That's what I'm saying, dude. It's not like a personal vendetta against the Big Ten. It's just simply not good enough at this point. Like, it's just not.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. James, your boy.
Okay, here we go.
Hi, this is James. Welcome back. Yay!
What makes the basketball tourney great is that the little guy has a chance. The SEC and the Big Ten need to pay attention. College football playoff could be that great. I think the college football playoff. What has the college football playoff been good for college football? I think it's been great.
Yeah.
The impact the portal and NIL has had on the college football playoff has been a disaster. Will Howard going to Ohio State, awesome for Ohio State.
Yes.
Not great for Manhattan, Kansas. Right? I think the portal and NIL is where all of this originates.
Mm-hmm.
It's what Nick Saban said last week. You know, like it is. The business of college football sucks.
Yes, it does.
There's no way to spin that. There's no way to spin that. Mike, agreed, James. The idea of small school or underdog team can beat the big teams in a tourney is what makes it exciting. I agree. The problem is Jimmy, the 100-pound linebacker, doesn't exist. And I don't care if he went to, hey, man, he's from Peoria, Illinois, 100 pounds, linebacking machine.
Monty, have you seen Peoria State's weightlifting room?
Man, Peoria Central. The cock size in that wrestling room is unbelievable. There's no such thing as little town linebacker, bro. Porter Gustin from Salem, Utah.
Wow, nice, dude.
Do you guys know how hard it is for me to remember the name Porter Gustin? I'm terrible. Is what it is. RX says, your mark, just advocate 5-7 model and let the chips fall where they may. I think everybody wanted the 5-7. It was almost unanimous. There's no doubt about that. The problem became when the Big Ten and the SEC were like, yeah, we'll take all 12 of those. Thanks. Right?
It's like rolling up to the cookie jar with your friend and there's 3 cookies left and you take all 3.
What it is the bully taking your lunch money and your lunch. That's what this is.
Yeah.
I knew today would be shitty.
It's not good. A couple more. I read that one already. My bad. Big 12 and ACC should demand 10 auto bids for the NCAA tournament. No. I was thinking bad thoughts. I'm a bad boy. OG Gary. Okay.
I'm going to let that one go.
Why not make bowls be played in the regular season? Attach bowls to random games because that doesn't make them special.
Yeah.
What makes the Rose Bowl the granddaddy of them all? The Rose Bowl game presented by your mom. What makes the Rose Bowl game special is that you have kids that fight all season long to put a rose in their mouth. That's what makes it special, right? Like the Drew Breeses, the Charles Woodsons. That's what makes it special.
Yeah.
It's New Year's Day, 3 Pacific time, 6 Eastern. No other game being played at that time. That's what the Cotton Bowl Classic used to be special. I don't think it's nearly as special as it once was. Like they're special and December needs to be preserved. And they're making those moves with early signing periods, and it needs to be preserved. And with an expanded college football playoff, it will be. Absolutely will be. Mike Smith, make the rivalry games for the last week of the regular season as bowl games. I mean, again, you can do that, but then you're going to not have BYU in Utah at Rice Eccles or at Lavelle. That's punishing the fan. That's not rewarding the fan.
100%.
Right? Like, and I know we don't have Bedlam anymore because Mike Gundy's a lying, disingenuous.
Yeah, but nobody cares about Bedlam, man.
It's so special to won this game. As Alan Bowman stands behind and like combs his mullet. Oh, it's so special to have won Bedlam. I can't tell you what this game means to me. But, Coach, you said it was meaningless for like the last 5 years.
This was for the fans, man. It's not about me. Okay. All right.
UW fan Jim, the Big 12 and the ACC should start working on their own playoff because anybody's going to watch that. Even if it's just for leverage, there is no leverage. There, when money is what the primary motivator is, you either have it or you don't.
Right.
It's that simple. You either have it or you don't. Period. You look at no, not going to go there. 64 teams in 16-team playoffs. Get over it. Get it over with already. I think that you need I love the idea that was floated by TV people of a college football championship on Saturday and the Super Bowl on Sunday.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense.
Why make it more difficult than that?
Makes perfect sense. Eric and Raleigh, the Big 32 and SEC should just make its own playoff.
The Big 32.
You ain't wrong. But who's going to watch? You're not going to eat. They're not stupid. They know they need. If the SEC and the Big 10 walk away, you don't have a national championship.
Nope. Can't say you have a natty.
And everybody knows that. It's why like the Big 12 and the ACC making their own play. It's not a playoff. You're just having scrimmages at that point. And I think everybody knows that. Mike Smith, keep picking on Gundy and James will send Ollie to your studio for an attitude adjustment.
I'm for real.
I'll whoop his ass.
No. Okay. So that's how it's going to be.
Wasikowski. How about no, not falling into your honey hole again. 14-team playoff with 2 G5 at large spot. Why? Everybody ain't able.
Let's just start throwing more random stuff against all, bro.
Notre Dame is being forced to join a conference. By who? And when? Because I don't think they are.
Notre Dame, our mother.
Okay, so in what scenario would Notre Dame be forced to join a conference? As I've repeatedly told you, they can't schedule. They are scheduling just fine.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have access. Their athletic director is on the college football playoff committee, and they're getting an automatic qualifier as long as they're ranked in the top 14. They can't get a TV deal.
Mm-hmm.
Notre Dame has a TV deal, and NBC is doing everything they can do to renew it at a much higher rate.
Because people watch.
Why would they join a conference? The leverage to get them to move is not currently in place. It's not currently in place. And until one of those things changes, they're going to create a God tier, Monty. Are you having a God tier of college sports without Notre Dame? College football, without Notre Dame.
Don't think so.
Without Notre Dame, you don't have a God tier because God is a Notre Dame fan. We all know that.
God's name, image, and likeness.
Are you having this NFL style? Are you having a 14-team playoff without Notre Dame? You're not. You're not.
God bless.
I just don't.
They're in. They've always been in. They're in the middle of it. They've always been in the middle of it, and I don't know why we keep coming back to it. I don't know why this is in question. I don't know why people are like, oh man, Notre Dame's gonna have to join a conference. Really? Because the last time I checked, they've got TV viewership for days.
So what do you do when your Amex card is being used?
Oh Jesus!
I'm trying to figure out which one is it. I'm trying to figure out which one. It's not mine. Mrs. Monty. Mrs. Monty might be working behind the scenes.
Oh dear.
I don't know what that means.
Are we scheming right now?
I don't know. It's something. Did you get a code from Delta? Yes, I did, motherfucker. You happen to be right.
Hey man, I got the code and stuff.
I was going to lose my mind. You know when you get that text from your credit card company?
Yes.
Pirates in the Red Sea are trying to purchase something with your Amex card.
Samsung phones.
Do you approve? Let's see. Never good. Monty and Jake aren't wrong about Gundy. I have no problem with their digs at the mullet. He has a fine mane of hair. Mike Smith, Notre Dame will pretty much be guaranteed to get one of those at-large bids as long as they have a mediocre to good season. Mountain Mama. That's exactly right.
Oh, well, Monty, as long as they run 10 guys out there on the field, they're definitely in.
But everybody has this hard-on to make sure that, Notre Dame's showing a conference. Stay hard. No, they're not. Why would they?
Well, Monty, they're going to join the Big Ten with UNC and Duke.
Well, hey, if the ACC melts down and you're Notre Dame, why wouldn't you join the Big Ten? You'll get more money than just about everybody else in that conference.
This shit's going good.
You're going to negotiate yourself at least. And, hey, yeah, we're going to have to give you guys $30 million. You're going to have to rank your way up. No, we're not. You're going to give us $100 million. And if you don't, well, where are we going to get that money? Yeah, we have a deal with NBC already. Oh, but why would you do that until the ACC melts down? You have no reason to move. No reason to move. You're not being impacted by the ACC debacle.
Yeah.
You're not. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. Notre Dame is fine not getting a first-round bye in the playoff. They'll join the Big Ten the minute those teams get 2 bye weeks to the quarterfinal. This is a very good point.
Mm-hmm.
This right here.
Yeah, Jimmy.
Yeah. Fucking guy.
Hey, Jimbo.
It's a very good point because if you've got to play 4 games to win a national championship and Michigan's got to play none, you just hand it to them like they did this year. I think that's let's move on. James,
fine Steeler guy.
Is Florida State, if Florida State is able to get away from the ACC, Notre Dame could be made a partner with the Big Ten and play more Big Ten teams.
James, dude, piece of advice. Stick to hot dogs and stadium renovations, okay?
So more Big Ten teams are on TV without Notre Dame actually joining the conference.
Oh, scheduling alliance, man. Don't they already have that?
They're on the same network. It's incestuous.
Yeah, and stuff.
Big Blue Horses. Russell Wilson to the Steelers. Could the Bears have played the QB trade any worse? Why would the Bears want Russell Wilson?
Let's ride.
Why would you want Russell Wilson on the Bears? That makes 0 sense. Sean Rollins, when you start to get burial insurance emails, that's when you know something is up, Monty. Good morning, fellas. Good morning, Sean. Your burial insurance policy is ready for your review.
Hey, Monty.
Your burial plot in Mozambique. Notre Dame, our mother. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Mike Smith says, LOL incestuous. Indeed.
Yeah.
OG Gary, Steeler country. Let's ride.
Broncos country. Let's ride.
Terrible. All of our college football talk on the Monty program presented by our good friends at Big O Tire in American Fork. Boy, you want to talk about a small world? Ryan at Big O Tires played a role in us buying our car this past weekend, and we didn't even know it.
Hi, my name is Ryan at Big O Tires at American Fork. We're sponsoring Jake Retzlaff right now with the interview at the Monty Show. Filters, struts, shocks, brakes, lifts. You need to replace your motor, transmission, anything you need in your car, we do here at Big O Tires and American Fork. We offer 12 months no interest financing, and we make sure you get taken care of. Whether you're a BYU fan or not, we will take care of you. If you have any questions, once again, my name is Ryan. Give me a call at 801-756-6000. We'll give you all your quotes and needs. We can do it over the phone, and we do price match guarantees, so give us a call and let us earn your business.
Yeah, let them earn your business. Hook it up. Ryan at Big O Tires and American Fork. Your total car care expert, tint, paint sealer. Do you guys know the racket of windshields in the state of Utah?
Dude.
We got to talk about that too. But Ryan can hook it all up for you. Replace your when you got a chipped, broken, cracked windshield. Ryan at Big O Tires and American Fork. Oil change, spark plugs, tune up. Ryan at Big O Tires and American Fork. Wheels, tires. Ryan at Big O Tires. Lift. Ryan at Big O Tires. Alignment, shocks, struts, sway bars.
Yeah.
How come you're driving the STI this morning? Heard you pull up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say to that.
Why aren't you even like usually you're driving the tuna can? The Forester.
Yeah,
oh,
because
the girlfriend's back.
Yeah, she's back in town, man. It's her car.
It's her
Not my
girlfriend's
car, man.
back in town.
Yeah, man.
When she's out of town, I drive her car.
Yeah.
When she's in town, I drive my car.
Yeah.
Yeah, no duh.
I don't know. Big O Tires and American Fork. Make sure you tell me you heard about it on the Monty Show. Okay.
James, please.
James
dude,
with another paid
need,
comment.
I need the levity here, please.
Oh, fuck,
Come
here
through. Come
he
through.
did. Okay, you asked for stadiums. Next week, big road trip.
Monty.
All right, Monty, up here in the copter, the Jag-Off Mullet Copter presented by your mom.
Let's ride.
We're going to Memphis, Tennessee, Vandy, Kentucky, and possibly Cincinnati and Louisville. We're going to have sex in that Italian restaurant where Rick Pitino impregnated that.
Okay, which side of the stadium's got to be renovated though? That's my money's on the south side.
Mine.
Yes.
Up here in Jet Copter Bucky's. I don't. Okay. Giggity. Good morning, fellas. Mrs. Monty's new wheels are very nice. They are.
Yeah.
They are. I don't disagree. K. Nuren, good morning, everyone. BYU should 2 more games this week, perhaps. BYU basketball, a revolution. Indeed it is. Okay. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit subscribe. Let's talk about Russell Wilson to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Russell Wilson signs a 1-year, $1.2 million deal with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He will make $38 million from the Denver Broncos and $1.2 million from Mitch Trubisky's former team. Is Russell Wilson the problem in Denver, or is it Sean Payton? Good signing, bad signing, where do you come down?
I mean, I think that the issue in Denver was probably I think they're both responsible, honestly. Like I think that Russell Wilson is somebody who you know, whether it's by choice or not, I don't know, didn't adjust. You had it cushy in Seattle, man. You had everything you could want in Seattle. And then what happened? You got a little frustrated with the play calling. You were frustrated you didn't have a good defense anymore. And you had a fallout with Pete Carroll, your head coach. That relationship went a little sideways. So they shipped your ass out to Denver, and then what happened? You roll up, and you're playing for a young head coach who doesn't really have any experience and gets moved on to the Jets. And then what happens? Sean Payton comes in, right? Sean Payton comes in and is like, hey, dude, like, let's push the ball down the field. Let's run the offense we all know and love out of Sean Payton, and you can't seem to do it. So whose fault is it? Yeah, I think Russ has responsibility. But I also think, obviously, Sean Payton and that coaching staff have responsibility. Russell Wilson didn't just forget how to play quarterback, man. You don't go from, you know, being Super Bowl good and putting up the kind of numbers he put up to just not being competitive, like in any facet of the game. So they both got responsibility as far as I'm concerned. This pickup for the Steelers, I don't know. I think the Steelers are a players program, if you will. They are a team that is very loose. They obviously, Mike Tomlin runs a very loose ship. He's a players coach. And I'm not so sure that that's going to be a good fit with Russell Wilson. You let Russell Wilson run roughshod over the locker room, and all of a sudden you got guys going up to the second floor to watch film on Mondays. That's a problem, dude. You can't have that here. So, yeah, I think that this is a good pickup. I don't think that the Steelers had great options in the draft, so they went ahead and pulled the trigger on this, and we'll see what happens. But again, a 1-year deal. It's a rental at best. And the question is, what are you doing long term? How long are you going to keep Mike Tomlin? How long are you going to keep Kenny Small Hands Pickett? Like, what are we doing?
Kenny Small Hands Pickett.
Yeah.
But I heard he's got knobby knuckles. Kenny Small Hands Pickett. That's amazing. I
couldn't help
think
myself. That's my.
I think Knuckles Pickett just became a backup.
Kenny,
I mean,
Mr. Burger King Pickett.
I don't see Russ going there to be a backup.
No, not for
And,
$38 million. Man.
I think when you start to look at where he is,
yeah,
he can't afford to go somewhere on a deal to be a backup. I think Kenny Pickett's going to be the number 2 there. I think it is going to be very interesting to see how all this plays out. The one thing I do know, Mike Tomlin's got to win, and he's got to win now or his ass is gone.
yes.
And I think Russell Wilson is safe. Russell Wilson's not, the guy that's going to cause locker room problems. He's not the guy that, especially at $1.2 million, his contract is not of consequence in Pittsburgh. He's not going to have his own office on the executive level like he did in Denver. He's not going to be a prima donna. All the BS that we heard about with Russ in Denver, all that stuff is gone. Russell Wilson is in Pittsburgh to do one singular thing: secure his legacy.
Yeah.
Because I'll go back to my days at 1320 Fan, the sports leader. Russ was always overrated. And is he a great story? Sure he is. Russ, I think, is a phenomenal story.
Right.
But he's got to win a Super Bowl now. And he's got to show that goal line play was a fluke. He's got to get away from what he was in Denver.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with you. It was all spoon-fed to him in Seattle. And when he had to go and hunt and eat on his own, he couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Now, can he go to Pittsburgh and do it? We're going to find out. I don't hate the move, but I certainly don't love it.
Yeah, and that division's not exactly a cakewalk, right?
You've
got good teams in that division.
I think it's really interesting to see how you develop that football team in Pittsburgh this summer is going to be critical, because I think Mike Tomlin is at the end of his time. I truly do. I think this is the end of the road for him. Brandon Butler. The issue with Russ is he has got a reputation that other players don't like him. He has gotten axed by 2 Hall of Fame coaches. They needed to get out from under that contract in Denver. I don't necessarily believe that his play on the field was as bad as it's being made out to be. Systematically, they were built for somebody not named Russell Wilson.
Right.
His money and his lack of production on the field is why he's gone.
And I think that's so interesting too, when you consider quarterback money. Like, you got guys out here at the top of the league, like Dak trying to get $60 million a year or whatever, right? Like, you look at Russ's number at $38 million, and obviously the Steelers are paying, like you said, 1.2, but just the idea that Russell Wilson had that big of a contract is absolutely absurd to me. And I think, he obviously got that contract at a different time. But I just maintain that Russell Wilson, like you said, has to still get over the hump.
Yes.
And I agree with the Russell Wilson defenders who say, hey, it wasn't on him. The play call was the play call. They should have handed it off, but that's not up to Russ. And I agree with that largely. I agree with that. But I'm definitely not going to sit here and make this guy out to be some victim. You could have done better in Denver. You could have not been a jag about it, and you could have been much more friendly and interested in making and forming relationships with your teammates. You could have been better that way. It's the Aaron Rodgers stuff, right? These guys are selfish. Make no mistake about it. So Russell Wilson going to obviously the AFC in that division, being selfish. You ain't got time for that anymore, dude. You're not playing in some terrible division anymore.
That's a tough division,
right? Like, as soon as you left the Seahawks, you started playing better teams, right? Like, obviously the Seahawks are in a division that's down right now. And I just look at Russell Wilson's career and how people will remember him. And I think you're totally right. We remember him for that goal line play and nothing else. That's it. That's all we remember.
Yeah. And I think I think Deshaun is very much in that same position, the washcloth king in Cleveland. He needs to recover his legacy or his career before we know him as a assaulter of massage therapists, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think you look at Baltimore, I think Lamar Jackson's fighting for his legacy. You have a division full of guys, and this includes Burrowhead Stadium, that have to prove that they're still that dude. And I think that's going to be one of the most competitive divisions in football, which is why I don't have high hopes.
Well, and there was some smoke, and I'm not saying there's any traction of this or any credence, but Le'Veon Bell was talking about possibly making a vet minimum comeback to play for the Steelers for a year or two. And I really hope
Bell.
I hope they don't do that type of deal. I hope that the Steelers don't turn into, hey, let's go retread some veterans and see if we can make some noise when people thought we couldn't. I think the Steelers need to go out, and you need firepower, man. You need to go out and you need to be able to score on any defense, because when I look around the league, that's why the Ravens are so good. That's why the Chiefs are so good. They can score on any defense. They can put up 25 plus on any defense.
Yeah, we'll see. James, so can the Dallas Cowboys go and get Mason Rudolph?
Why would they go and get Mason Rudolph?
Don't you need quarterbacks that are competent in the NFL? That's a shot at Mason Rudolph. He's not.
Mason dodging helmet Rudolph.
You just love your Oklahoma State guys, like Mason Rudolph, Ollie Gordon for Heisman. Mason Rudolph is a backup perennial.
Bro, last week it was Brandon Whedon, dude.
Well, Brandon Whedon, this is a fucking guy. I mean, do you know Brandon Whedon? Do you remember Brandon Whedon? No, we don't. Oh, when he was at Okie Light, can I just tell you something? No, you can't. He was amazing. No, he wasn't. And he should have won the Heisman. No, he shouldn't have. I mean, it was awesome. I'm sure it wasn't. Mason Rudolph.
Oh, he don't know nothing.
Oh, my God, dude.
Mason Rudolph. Big Blue Horses. Russell is playing for 2025 and beyond. He's got to.
Is he not in the Baker Mayfield situation? Hey, you got to come out and you got to perform.
You know what he is? He's in the Saquon Barkley situation.
Yeah, same deal. Yep.
Everybody's like, oh, Saquon's going to be in there. And Saquon Barkley's not going to a mid-tier team. Saquon Barkley belongs with the Dallas Cowboys. I think he's leaving the Giants. That's one of the biggest questions in free agency, which starts today. You can talk to and make agreements with players. You can't sign them yet.
Yeah.
Unless unless the player represents himself, then they can't talk to him until Thursday. Or
right. Yeah.
Saquon Barkley can't go to the Bears. He can't. He has to win a Super Bowl.
You know, it's interesting too. Like you look at Atlanta. There's a lot of smoke around Atlanta picking up Kirk Cousins, right? Because he's a free agent and he's coming off the Achilles, and
best available quarterback now.
Best available quarterback. So like, when I consider guys like Saquon, and I look at teams like Atlanta who are, allegedly thinking about picking up a Kirk Cousins, like you can't just have the quarterback, right? Like the Steelers can't just go and get Russell Wilson and have nothing for him to work with. And nothing is a bit strong, obviously. They have some talent, but you get what I'm saying. You got to have that bona fide weapon that you can go to on a regular basis. And when Saquon's healthy, he's special, man. There's really no other back in the league like him. Just the way he plays the game and the style of play, the way he runs, there's not a lot of guys like him. And I feel like we've gotten away from the prolific running back in the league, and we've gone to quarterback throwing to tight end, and hoping for the best with mediocre wide receivers.
Saquon Barkley is everything that Christian McCaffrey is.
Mm-hmm.
You put him on a team like they put McCaffrey on the 49ers, he can have that kind of impact.
Yeah.
And I don't know who that is. I think the Wales Vagina Chargers.
Another great situation.
That's a very interesting marriage that could be made, because he instantly brings a different dynamic. But you put him on the Cowboys and Dak Prescott's a better quarterback.
Yeah, and that's why I say, like, you look at who these head coaches are. I mean, Mike McCarthy had really good running backs in Green Bay over the course of his tenure there. They had several thumpers back there.
But again, why were the 49ers able to pick up McCaffrey?
Mm-hmm.
Because you have a rookie quarterback contract. You don't have a max contract guy. You don't have Dak's deal. on your books.
Yeah.
Right. So if you look at those situations, there are some situations out there where Saquon Barkley is probably a financial fit. What does Saquon want? Is Saquon that guy that'll take less to potentially win a Super Bowl? Because I think one of the things that's being floated about Saquon is he takes that 1-year deal with an assurance not to tag him. And he becomes a free agent, but he goes to Dallas and he takes, less money to potentially win a Super Bowl. Now, if you want to win a Super Bowl, are you going to Dallas? I'm probably not. But if I'm Saquon Barkley, if I'm Russell Wilson, I've got to go somewhere where I have access to the Super Bowl.
Yes.
And that's about 5 teams. That's it. It's about 5 teams. If I'm Saquon Barkley, am I going to Baltimore?
Philly?
But again, I don't think Philly can afford him. Now, Fletcher Cox retired this weekend.
Yeah.
So that's money you're not going to have
really
to spend.
Question. I guess it's,
Kelsey retired.
Yeah, I think for guys like Saquon, it's really a question of just how much you're going to ask for and what, because obviously you got to get paid, right? Of course. But there's flexibility there in terms of how you look at it. If Saquon Barkley says, hey, give me the 1-year deal, guarantee that you won't tag me after this deal is up, and I'll take a little bit less money so we can go out and get one more guy, right? So we can go out and get a little more talent. Okay, to me, that makes a lot of sense if I'm Saquon, because Saquon, Saquon is someone who's not exactly young anymore, but he's not old either. He's right in that middle ground of his career where, it's time to start making progress on winning a Super Bowl. So yeah, I mean, sure, if you want to play playoff football, sure, you can go to the Cowboys, but honestly, and I know it sounds insane, but do we not have some faith in what they're going to do in Wales Vagina? Are we not going to have some faith that team's going to be much better?
But I also look at the Minnesota Vikings and Kirk Cousins. I mean, the Vikings would really like to have him back. But if you're Kirk Cousins, are you going back to the Vikings? Why would you not at least test free agency? If you're Derrick Henry, are you going back to Tennessee? Why are you not at least testing free agency?
That's a guy. Derrick Henry's a guy that needs to go to a winner.
Yeah,
for sure.
Because he's another guy that's put up huge numbers but has not won.
Yeah.
And he is 30 years old and you are running out of time. And I think Derrick Henry's a very interesting one. I am very interested to see exactly where do these other big names go? Like, because I really think that the quarterback market, obviously it's a priority position, went away very quickly. Kirk Cousins is your guy there, but you've got 4 legitimate number 1 running backs. I mean, I think it's Saquon Barkley or Derrick Henry. I'm probably more in the Barkley mode because I think he fits the prototypical back.
Yeah, and I think your comparison to CMC is a good one. Like I think that CMC is probably a little more athletic on the outside, but I think that it's Saquon can do pretty much everything Saquon.
Josh Jacobs or Saquon Barkley.
I'm taking Saquon. Yeah, it's tough. Josh Jacobs is a bigger back. Josh Jacobs is definitely more Derrick Henry than Saquon Barkley. No question about that. But again, I'm telling you guys, it really depends on what kind of offense you're running too. Like CMC in San Francisco only works because it's Kyle Shanahan's offense. It only works because they run that system. He would not be doing what he's doing in some traditional A-gap offense. That's not where he thrives.
Yeah. Well, and I also think that Chris Jones contract in Kansas City really helps Christian Wilkins.
Mm-hmm.
I do. But
look at Kansas City even. I mean, hell, Kansas City, even though they're winning right now, I mean, there's going to come a point where Patty cannot continue to just run his ass off all game and find a way at some point.
And Josh Jacobs is a guy that's been a lot of people have wondered, is Josh Jacobs the guy that Kansas City needs? Because they can't afford Saquon. They cannot. And I think but they don't have, in my opinion, a number 1 running back. But do you need one in that offense? Well, you've got to do everything you can do to get weapons. I think there's a lot of merit this cycle alone. Do you take less money to become a chief, to go to that team that is So close.
Well, and I only point to this just to create an example of momentum as far as one player is concerned. Look at the momentum that Joe Flacco created for himself. And I know it didn't work out, right? Ultimately, you wind up losing. Totally get it. But Joe Flacco was warming the bench, dude. Joe Flacco was not.
He was done.
Like it was over. And then what happens? They bring him in, 1-year deal, vet minimum, incentivized contract. Hey, the more you win, the more you get paid. And what's he doing? He's just a feel-good story, just trying to help my team win, man.
Look at the money. Look at the money that Baker Mayfield got.
Yeah.
$50 million guaranteed.
Wild.
$100 million total.
And when I woke up this morning, I was feeling pretty dangerous.
Now, and listen, I understand Kirk Cousins is coming off of this Achilles and totally get it. Are you not at least going to Tampa's not at least going to go try to upgrade Baker Mayfield? As good as he was for them, you're not going to at least go try?
But as good as he was for them, as much as he came back to earth in the moment, right? We all were waiting for, hey, the Bucs are gonna get in a position where they got to pass to win the game. When does Baker Mayfield come back to get them? And it inevitably did. But that being said, they were also much better this past season, and he also helped them get pretty far. So I understand why they signed him. The quarterback market is light, in my opinion. I don't think you've got a bunch of dudes just hanging out, and Baker Mayfield is more than good enough to get you to the playoffs most years. And if you're the Bucs, honest to God, I think that's all you're trying to do, right? You're just simply trying to get into the playoffs and see if you can win a game or two, be profitable on your books, and wait until the cycle comes back around where you can draft a generational talent. Honestly, that's to me what you're trying to do.
And if you are the Kansas City Chiefs, you've got to get more weapons. Calvin Ridley that's a dude I'd be chasing hard if I were a team that needs a 1B, 2A wide receiver.
Was it Ridley who came off that suspension?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And he is 29 years old.
He
has got miles left on the tank. I'd be on that. I think I would be on. There's a lot of reasons to be after the running back market. What about like Marquise Hollywood Brown in Arizona? Dude, I'm telling you, he could be you put him on a 2-year deal, and I think that's a guy that could be a Pro Bowler today.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Pro Bowler doesn't mean what it used to mean, but that's a guy that could be a Pro Bowler today. And I think in a market that is pretty light on wide receivers, I mean, Gabe Davis or Calvin Ridley. I'm taking Calvin Ridley.
I am too.
I think Gabe Davis is a hell of a possession receiver, and I think he'll have a home. But I look at the wide receivers on the market, and I think you are awfully light when it comes to the defensive talent now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Azeez Al-Shire is a hell of a linebacker that's available. Or, you know, if you look at, you know, again, who's probably the best defensive player? Daniil Hunter is the guy that comes to mind. Christian Wilkins, I think, is the best defensive player.
Yeah.
Patrick Queen. Was it Roquan Smith that made Patrick Queen, or did Patrick Queen just step up? Patrick Queen's fast and physical.
Yeah.
You want to put him in your dude. Seattle, you want to finally get off the Bobby Wagner merry-go-round? Go get Patrick Queen. Right? Like that. So I think there's a lot of talent. It's going to be very interesting to see where guys are. And I also think if you're Kansas City, do you have access to any of the top wide receivers in the Malik Neighbors, a Xavier Worthy? You don't.
No.
You got to go get a guy.
Well, and I think the other guy on defense, you can't forget, is Arik Armstead. Can't forget him. He's a stud.
I think he winds up back in San Francisco. He's coming off of a knee injury, though.
Yeah.
I mean, he was pretty good in the playoffs, obviously, but
yeah,
he's coming off of that meniscus injury, and they were really close to a deal in San Francisco. I think he eventually winds up back there, but that's another guy. This is the Gordon Hayward theory of doing business.
Seriously.
Let him go make out with a bunch of other chicks, and hopefully he comes back and pounds box, right? Like that's not the best example. But my point is, if you're going to let him go out and have people tell him how great he is, you're probably going to lose him.
Yeah.
Because Arik Armstead can still play.
Yeah.
I'll just be interested to see how that. He goes back to saying he's been there 10 years. Man. You know how few 49ers play there 10 years?
Yeah, not a lot.
Not a lot at all. We'll see. Dakota Tubbs, come join the ring chasing rodeo in Kansas City. Seriously. Elaine Tram, Baker deserves the money. Well, and he got his wide receiver too. So Stepanek, good morning. Russell Wilson will be a bench quarterback getting pine tar on his ass. I don't think so.
No, you don't bring that kind of contract in. You don't bring a veteran in. You don't bring, and again, they're only paying 1.2 million. But I think that what you begin to understand is, hey, okay, yeah, you're only paying 1.2 million, but you're bringing this guy in to help you. You're bringing him in to win ball games because you don't bring Russell Wilson in on a $1.2 million contract for 1 year to have him sit on the bench so you can release him.
Because they've got talent there. I mean, Pickens, you look at Pickens, Johnson, the way they ended the year, Najee Harris, they had enough talent. They needed, if Russell Wilson was there last year, they probably have a much better ending.
Yeah.
Than they had. James says Baker Mayfield is scrappy, good presence in the locker room. That's why Tampa wanted to keep him. Tampa wanted to keep him because they needed cohesiveness.
Yes.
That's why they wanted to keep him.
The Tom Brady era ending.
And the Mike Evans situation ending well, I think was a big deal. Sean Rollins gives some Monty Show membership.
Okay,
Sean, you never answered your leg. Are you having leg surgery? I think you said you were having leg surgery.
Yeah, Sean took go and break a leg too literally.
OG Salty. Oh, okay. Thank you, DT.
Who's DT?
Don't know. Tom Dean, Kansas City priorities. Keep what they have. Wide receiver. I don't disagree with that.
Oh.
I don't disagree with that. What happened to Aaron Wilson? Is he okay? He's fine. Aaron Wilson.
Yeah, he's an afternoon listener.
Yeah.
You can't listen in the
Doesn't
morning.
wake up for the morning show. That's exactly right.
Yeah. He's
all
an
right.
afternoon guy.
Should we talk about the Rudy Gobert fine real quick?
Rudy.
So, you remember us, hacks on YouTube who didn't know anything about the Jazz until everything we said happened came true. And what was Rudy Gobert's biggest problem with the Jazz? They could not get him to stop attacking officials.
Yeah.
They could not get him to stop yelling at officials. He was fined $100,000 over the weekend for making the money sign. Speaking of Baker Mayfield, making the money sign. And then after the game, insinuating that the officials in the NBA are on the take. $100,000. And he's hurt. And now Karl Anthony Towns is out.
Honey, he can afford it.
Yeah.
Okay.
With the worst contract in the NBA. I'm telling you, Rudy Gobert is why that team will not win.
Yeah.
And this should not surprise anybody.
Well, and I feel like Ant's having a breakout year now. I mean, he was good last year, but this year he's been special.
And the block, the want to, the effort. Come on, man.
Yes.
And I don't know.
My Lakers, the GM's coming through, man.
Austin Reeves. Salty's here today. You want to have the Josh Giddey Austin Reeves fight again?
Any comment on where Giddey's at? Because it's not been a good year for your boy, man.
I know where he's at. Anyway, my point is, anybody see Austin Reeves? Ball handling, layup off the glass, looking MFer.
Yeah.
What a second half that guy's having. And he needed it because he was shit. Hey, in the first half. He was not good.
Yes, he was.
Anthony Davis with a 50-point combined double-double last night.
By the way, I do think it's important to point out the game prior against the Bucks, Anthony Davis's defense on Giannis is why the Lakers even have a chance. Like, you need, and this is my question. This is why I wonder sometimes. Maybe it's not the roster. Maybe it is Darvin. Maybe the team just isn't. Look, and I'm not sitting here saying Darvin is
I thought you said maybe it's not the roster.
Coach,
it could be Darvin Ham. Bald-headed fuck. Are you kidding me? Darvin Ham is a terrible head coach. And you know what it is? It's not that he's terrible. He's inexperienced. You fired Frank Vogel for that guy?
That's what they do.
It's ridiculous that you hired such an inexperienced, or excuse me, that LeBron hired such an inexperienced.
Excuse me, GM, bro.
LeCap
Yeah.
hired such
Come
an inexperienced
on.
head coach.
Come on.
I will point out to you that last night, Anthony Davis, 27 points, 25 rebounds,
Dude.
10 offensive rebounds.
Dude.
Now, Towns in terrible contract were out, but 5 dimes, 7 steals, 3 blocks, 27 and 25.
Stud.
LeCap had 29, 9 dimes, 8 boards. The savior of the Los Angeles Lakers, Austin Reeves, 19 points, 4 dimes, 6 boards.
I'm for real.
Austin Himmy Reeves.
They got 17 points off the bench last night. They scored 120.
What D'Lo have?
Your mom? D'Lo had 13 points, 6 dimes, 3 boards.
Not bad.
Not at all. He's been unbelievable.
Yeah.
When every
Rui, I shoot bricks, Hachimura.
he does shoot bricks. And then there's the Utah Jazz. Anybody see the Jazz on Saturday night? No, I didn't think you did. But we don't watch Jazz games. It's fine. The Jazz got torched by the Nuggies. Anybody see my guy though? Key.
Oh, if we have Key on the team, he's we're unlocking our success for the future.
29 points, 6 dimes, 5 boards.
Yeah.
5 of 8 from 3.
You know, my boy KD's got Keontae George on his list of next faces of the league.
Keontae George is legit.
Yeah.
My biggest fear with the Utah Jazz, they ruined Walker Kessler.
Yeah.
And it really pisses me off. Amongst all of this, not willing to spend money so you can get us to pay for your stadium. Amongst all of that nonsense.
Well, who is he? The Big Ten and the SEC? Come on.
Amongst all of that nonsense, you ruined Walker Kessler.
Yeah.
He's not the same player. He is not the same player. And it is so frustrating.
Yep.
So frustrating.
It's terrible. Literally,
It
it's
is.
terrible. I mean, it just shouldn't happen. And look, I understand that you've got guys like Keontae who need the minutes. You've got Taylor Hendricks who needs the minutes. Like, I get it, dude.
Sensabaugh.
Sensabaugh, right? Yeah, but I just think that, dude, we do this every time, so I'm hesitant. I'm trying to be nice, but they just find a way to freaking turn left when they should just keep going straight. And I don't understand why they keep doing it. Just keep it simple, man. Keep them in the starting lineup. It's not hard.
Yeah. RJ Seaman continues to be a red ass today. No buck up shot today. It's called a buck shot, and it saved me in golf yesterday. I played some pretty good golf yesterday.
You did.
I hit a drive yesterday that I don't think has landed yet.
Yeah.
That was a bomb on 17 at River Oaks.
Yeah.
OG Salty, Giddey will be on the team that goes deeper than the Lakers. That's for certain. Well, I mean, just because he's not doing it, man. Maury Alvarez gifted 5 Monty Show.
Oh, appreciate you, Maury. Thank you.
Let's go, Maury. Appreciate you. Thank you. Couldn't participate on Friday, but here's my contribution. Appreciate that. Stepanik, are you ready for this Mike Tyson fight? Is such a fraud.
What are we doing with this?
Did you see that Royd Boy is allowed to wear a helmet? Mike Tyson's not. Did you see that Royd Boy is allowed to tag in his brother? Like, he can bring his brother in. He is not, Royd Boy will not be tested for steroids and illegal substances. Mike Tyson will. This is not a fight. No. I can't, come on. AD with a 25-25 game. Wow, no one has done that since Shaq and Josh Giddey. Because, OG Salty, Giddey's numbers have been fine lately.
Good to have you back, Salty. Thanks for staying.
I don't disagree about OKC being good. I just don't know that they're playoff good.
Meaning what?
Meaning you've got to, Chet has fallen off a little bit. And as somebody that's a massive Chet fan, and I am a massive Chet fan, I am a little concerned about their defense, and they still are not a very good rebounding team. And when you're going up against the teams that they will go up against in the playoffs, you can get through a round like that. You can get through your first round game like that.
Right.
But the fall off is precipitous. They do not, and I would remind you, you're the best team in the Western Conference. You do not have a double-figure rebounder. You don't have anybody that averages 8 rebounds a game. Chet's at 7.8.
Yeah.
I have questions about their ability to compete with that. And they don't block shots very well. That concerns me.
Well, and I think you've seen that, like, in some of their games, it's not a nightly thing, but there are times where teams commit to doubling SGA and they don't allow him to play his mid-range game.
Yeah.
And that really throws a wrench in what OKC tries to do offensively. And so that's why I say when you're in a playoff series, a 7-gamer, you're going up against one team multiple times in a row. They're going to continue to do the same thing until you find a different look. So guys like Josh Giddey, your role players, if you will, are going to have to come through for them to win in the playoffs.
And I thought that Kenny Smith on TNT like a week ago made a really good point. You don't fear missing 3-pointers against OKC because you're going to out-rebound them. And they're not – the thing that is frustrating about the Thunder is if they had a if you had the power forward in Orlando who's
Paolo
named
Banchero.
Yes. If you had a Paolo Banchero, a Draymond Green, a rebound and kick guy, how much better are they? If you rebounded better, how much better would your defense be?
Yeah.
Because second chance points in the playoffs kill you. And teams are not scared to shoot 3-pointers on them. And I thought that was a really good point. I thought that was a really, really good point. And we'll see what they do in the playoffs. How do they, because everybody tends to bring things in a little bit, lock stuff down a little bit. They're also another team. Do they have another iteration of their offense for the playoffs? And I don't know if they do.
Great question, dude.
I don't know that they do. So it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see how they are doing. Kaner and the Jazz are going for a top 10 pick again.
Yeah.
Again.
What happened to making progress this year?
Yeah, no kidding. Did you guys see the Sengun thing? Ooh. Oh man, bro, it is
gnar, dude.
And you feel terrible for them because he's such a good player.
Yeah,
he is. And that Jalen Green dunk, god damn.
Yeah, Anthony Simmons made a business decision, and
you mean
Simons made a business decision.
The fact that we don't know Simmons is problematic for them. Dude, that dunk,
he flew, bro. He flew.
Detonated on him. Sengun's a terrible injury.
Yeah.
It is.
That's a mileage injury, bro. That's, hey, I play a lot of basketball. And yeah.
I think it'll just be very interesting to see how these NBA playoffs go, because I think that you're in a situation now where you don't have rebuilds anymore. This is not a rebuild league anymore. You either buy talent and draft well, or you don't win. It's that simple. And for everything that OKC has talent-wise, for everything that the Lakers have talent-wise, for everything the Jazz don't have talent-wise, there's a tried and true formula. Why is Damian Lillard in Milwaukee? Because you drafted well and now you bought a free agent.
Yeah.
Why is Kevin Durant in Phoenix? Because you drafted Devin Booker and you went and paid free agents, or traded in that case.
Yeah.
Right? Like the best teams. And Kevin Durant, that dude,
unconscious.
He is really, really, he's still that dude. He's still that dude.
Yeah.
I don't take him over LeBron because, again, when you see LeBron play like he played last night.
I do think that as far as that tried and true process is concerned, most teams do have one guy they drafted, developed, and turned into their.
Every team's got him.
Every team's got at least one, and that's the SGA factor.
And the teams that don't win don't go buy talent.
Nope.
Because you have to draft a star and buy a star. Because it's very rare that you can draft several stars.
Yeah.
Again, OKC.
Well, and that's what made Golden State so special, is that they were one of the first teams that was able to draft several stars, and they developed them. They instead of going out to the market, put their money in development, and that it obviously paid off.
And you drafted 3 generational players.
Yeah.
And Steph, Clay, and Dre, like you drafted generational players. So Bob Myers is good at what he does, man. Yeah, I'm pretty good at buying cars.
So just real quick, just want to point this out. Friday, I got a bunch of nonsense on this show about, Subaru suck, and Mrs. Monty wants to lower the car payment. So what'd you wind up doing?
I did not do anything.
Uh-huh.
I simply went along in an advisory capacity.
I'm for real.
I am not the one who got an X2M. That was not my decision. I did not go buy an X2M.
Some shit happened.
So we went to Beamer. We were supposed to go down to, I think it's called a Shy in Orem, and have some sushi. Instead, we wound up at BMW of Murray. And Tyler was our guy there. Well, test drove an X3 was what I brought her there to drive.
Uh-huh.
I wanted Mrs. Monty to drive an X3. Wound up in an X3. They had the brand new, just released. Nobody in the state of Utah has bought one. X2M for 2024.
Stay hard.
Some shit happened.
Yeah.
And we wound up getting it. It was great.
Uh-huh.
Got fully made whole on the Jeep, which has been a point of contention. And we actually did some negotiating. They offered us below market value for the Jeep.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, cool. Because he said, this is going to be a deal breaker. I said, okay, cool. That's fine. We won't do it. We'll walk away. And he's like, so you're saying if we don't give you full payoff for the Jeep, you're walking away? Yeah, we're done. Where are you guys going to go? We're going to go down to Porsche Audi. We're going to wind up there because they'll give us strong Porsche would give us what we wanted. Strong Audi would give us what we wanted.
Right.
Went back to his guy. What do you know? Came back. Hey, yeah.
Yeah, what do you know? Bada boom, bada bing. Turns
Done deal.
out there is money there.
0 down. Thrilled with it. Thrilled with it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's why I always say when you have money and you have credit, you can do anything you want.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
So made a really good deal. Got a really nice car for Mrs. Monty. All is well. All is well. It was a really good car buying experience.
Yeah.
Really good. But it wasn't a Subaru bra dealer. Because again, what happened at Subaru? Walked in, they're wearing their hats backwards, they're in jeans and flannel. They don't want to sell a car. They don't want to sell a car for what the manufacturer is advertising. They don't want to sell a car.
Yeah. Yeah.
You walk into BMW and it's a completely different experience. All right, what do we want to learn? What are we doing? What are we doing? Not asking me to fill out a credit application. Not like first thing in the door, credit app. No, not at BMW. What are we looking at? How can we help you? What are you guys thinking? Well, here's where we are. This is what we need. All right, great. Let's get that X3 pulled up. Done.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
The X2M we wound up buying was in Pleasant Grove. We got the first ever X2M sold in the state of Utah.
It's pretty sick.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Worked out great.
Yeah.
Worked out really well.
Yeah. Beamer dealer was nice too.
It was good.
Have to admit, it was nice being back in a BMW dealership.
It was very good. Very, very good. It was excellent.
Yeah.
So, James, I just looked up BMW X2M. That's fantastic. Great purchase. What color did you get? BMW in blue looks great. We got blue with chocolate interior, which Mrs. Monty swore she would never do.
It's not tan, it's chocolate. And it absolutely is chocolate.
I love it. It's the interior. They give you all these bells and whistles. The app works okay. They give you a card you can carry it in your wallet that'll supposedly work the car. It doesn't. I'm a key. Give me it. It has a really great key. I love the physical key.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of having the key in your pocket, keyless entry.
Yes,
and
which is exactly what you can do.
Yeah, that's what
It
I
was
prefer.
great.
I'm not. I don't know. Maybe I'm just an old head with cars, but I'm not so sold on the app stuff yet.
Me either.
I like the ability to just sit down in the car and do what you want.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And you know what? I love the performance. I'm a BMW guy. We've talked about this on the show. I'm a German guy.
Yeah.
I like BMW. I'm more than anything, I'm a Porsche guy. But I am much more of a BMW guy. I missed it.
Yeah.
Being in the dealership, the level of service, the anytime, anything you need. You know, the funny part about this was the finance person.
Yeah.
Whose name I can't remember.
Kimber
Wakely. Her husband is the starting safety at BYU. And guess who takes care of all their cars? Ryan at Big O Tires and American Fork. How crazy is that?
Small world,
crazy
bro.
is that?
Small world, bro.
But Kimber does finance at BMW. And it was great. It was a great deal. We did not buy a warranty. One of the things that people need to remember too, by the way, please always get gap insurance. We were talking about this with one of the guys there. Like, listen, if you are carrying negative equity into a new car, you probably shouldn't be buying a new car.
Yeah.
So if the car you're trading in is worth less than you owe on it, that's called negative equity. You owe 20, it's worth 10.
Yeah.
Don't buy a new car. Don't do it. Don't do it. And if you are going to do it, get gap insurance. It is amazing to me that people don't want gap insurance. But if you're getting gap insurance, please don't pay $1,000 for gap. Gap insurance, if you're going to get gap insurance, call your insurance agent before you go.
Right.
Because it should be $200 for you. It's one of those things that dealers make money on. So,
yeah,
here nor there.
Yeah.
It was a great, after everything we had been through at Subaru, to walk into the BMW dealer and have them treat you like they wanted to sell you a car was amazing. It was amazing.
Right.
And I when I left,
you're also a stickler for service, though.
I am. I deserve it.
You are very,
I deserve it. I am a well-qualified buyer that knows what I want. And if you treat me well, I'm going to keep buying cars from you. I'm a guy that gets a new car every 2-3 years. I'm going to buy a car from you if you treat me well.
Yeah.
You treat me like shit, I'm not going to buy a car from you ever again.
Right.
And probably won't even buy one car from you. So I just don't know how you... And the Subaru thing, I totally get. It's a lifestyle. If you're in your 20s or 30s, Subarus are great. When you are used to a certain level of customer service, Subaru is probably not the place you should go. It's not. You need to go somewhere where they appreciate it. And I think it is, with the way the car industry is now, and with the difficulty in selling cars and finding qualified buyers, when you're a qualified buyer and they have a captive inventory, they should treat you well. But it's amazing to me how many people don't want to sell cars.
Seriously.
I'm amazed with it. Capazzo, I'm not a trade-in guy. I like to sell the car after purchasing the new one. You get more money that way. Yeah, but it's a matter of convenience. It's a matter of convenience. Like, I have zero time to sell my car. You're right. You're going to get more money for it. I'm not interested in it. Cost of doing business, in my opinion.
Agreed.
That's just me. Shouty says Toyota and Honda are the best. We have it in our family. Good vehicles. Good vehicles. Capazzo, Monty, you don't want to have the Stephen Wade experience then. They jerk you around forever.
Okay.
Let's get some likes. Smash that like button. Yes, please do. The Monty Show, as always, is presented by our good friends at The Advocates, theadvocates.com. Don't forget, it is a week from today. The Advocates and the Red Cross are doing a blood drive together. Use the sponsor code ADVOCATESSLC. Schedule a blood drive or a blood donation, Go into the Advocates office in Salt Lake City if you're in St. George. Have an office down there as well. Utah County, Phoenix, Idaho. My good friends, everywhere you are, the Advocates are right there with you. Donate blood at the Red Cross this week. Use the sponsor code AdvocateSSLC. Until tomorrow, say goodbye, Jake.
Goodbye, Jake.